Nestled in a quiet, picturesque village, the mill had been abandoned for decades, its towering, weathered structure a relic of a bygone era. It was a place of faded memories, of creaking timbers and rusted machinery, and it had been vacant for as long as anyone could remember. My journey to the old mill began during a period of profound personal loss. It was a time when the world seemed to crumble around me, and I found myself adrift in a sea of loneliness and despair. For years, I had shared a life with my now ex-wife, Sarah. We had built a home together, nestled in the heart of a bustling city. It was a life filled with promise, with dreams of a future intertwined with love and shared adventures. But like so many stories, ours took an unexpected turn. As the years went by, the cracks in our relationship deepened. Unspoken grievances festered beneath the surface, and promises we had once made to each other began to erode. We found ourselves drifting apart, the chasm between us growing wider with each passing day. The final blow came when Sarah, unable to bear the weight of our fractured marriage any longer, made the painful decision to leave. It was a choice that left both of us wounded and broken, our hearts heavy with the weight of a love that had withered and died. In the aftermath of our separation, I was left with a house that had once been filled with laughter and shared dreams, but was now haunted by the memories of a love that had soured. Every corner of that once beloved home held a painful reminder of what had been lost, and the walls seemed to close in on me with each passing day. I yearned for a fresh start, a place where I could heal and rebuild my life. It was during this time of searching for solace and renewal that the old mill entered my life. One day, while navigating the labyrinthine alleys of the city, in an attempt to escape my troubles, I stumbled upon a quaint real estate agency. The agency, unlike the sleek modern offices I had grown accustomed to, exuded an old-world charm. It was there that I met Mr. Thomas, the elderly real estate agent, who helped me find a property in a quiet place far from the city. Nestled in a quiet, picturesque village far from the bustling city, the mill had been abandoned for decades. Its towering, weathered structure was a relic of a bygone era, a silent witness to the passage of time. It was a place of faded memories, of creaking timbers and rusted machinery, and it had been vacant for as long as anyone could remember. The old machinery, though covered in layers of dust and neglect, seemed to pulse with the echoes of bygone days. The shafts of sunlight that filtered through cracked windows painted a mosaic of light and shadow on the worn wooden floors, creating a sense of haunting beauty. It was then that I made the fateful decision to make the mill my new home. With the guidance of Mr. Thomas, the real estate agent, I navigated the complexities of purchasing the long-abandoned property, my excitement outweighing any reservations I might have had. The decision to purchase the old mill came with its own set of challenges. It was a long-abandoned property, but with Mr. Thomas's guidance, I navigated the complexities of the purchase. My excitement outweighed any reservations I might have had, and I knew deep down that this was the fresh start I had been searching for. Life in the old mill was idyllic. The village welcomed me with open arms, and I settled into the rustic surroundings with ease. With the keys to the old mill in hand, I embarked on a journey of restoration. I poured my heart into restoring the mill to its former glory, spending hours repairing its decaying structure and uncovering hidden treasures from the past. But as the days turned to weeks, I began to notice strange occurrences, subtle, unexplainable things that defied all reason. It began with whispers in the dead of night, soft, disembodied voices that echoed through the empty corridors of the mill. At first, I dismissed them as the product of an overactive imagination, the wind playing tricks on my ears. But the whispers persisted, growing louder and more insistent with each passing night. Then came the footsteps, a slow, deliberate pacing that echoed through the empty rooms. I would hear them when I knew I was alone in the mill, their haunting rhythm sending shivers down my spine. I searched the mill from top to bottom, convinced that an intruder was hiding within its walls, but I found nothing. The strange occurrences continued to escalate. Objects would move on their own, sliding across tables or falling to the floor with no explanation. Doors would slam shut with a force that seemed impossible given their age and condition. And in the darkest hours of the night, I would wake to find the mill bathed in an eerie, otherworldly light, a soft, ghostly glow that seemed to emanate from nowhere. Fear gnawed at the edges of my sanity as I grappled with the inexplicable. I tried to rationalize the events, attributing them to drafts or the settling of an old building. But deep down, I knew that something more sinister was at play. One evening, as I sat alone in the dimly lit living room of the old mill, a feeling of unease settled over me. It was a typical quiet night, the only sound being the occasional rustling of leaves outside the windows. As I sat in my favorite worn-out armchair, the atmosphere in the room began to change imperceptibly. It started with a subtle drop in temperature. At first, I brushed it off as a chill from the drafty old windows, but the cold seemed to seep into my very bones. I watched as my breath formed misty clouds in front of my face, an unsettling sign that something was amiss. The air grew still, heavy with an unspoken presence. A sense of anticipation hung in the room, as though time itself had slowed to a crawl. It was then that I noticed the faintest sound, a soft, ethereal whisper, barely audible above the silence. My heart quickened, and I strained my ears to listen. The whispers, like distant echoes, seemed to emanate from the very walls of the mill. They were haunting and melodic, a language from a bygone era, and they stirred an inexplicable feeling of dread deep within me. As the whispers continued, a subtle movement caught my eye. In the dim light, I saw her, a figure standing at the far edge of the room, bathed in an otherworldly glow. Her presence was ethereal, almost translucent, and she seemed to materialize from the very shadows. The woman had long, flowing hair that cascaded down her back, and she wore a flowing white gown that billowed around her like a wisp of smoke. Her eyes, however, were the most haunting of all. Piercing and intense, they seemed to burn with an otherworldly fire. She stood there motionless, her gaze fixed upon me with a mournful intensity. Her lips moved soundlessly, forming words that I could not hear, but felt deep within my soul. It was as if she were trying to convey a message. Fear clutched at my chest, rendering me immobile. A profound sense of dread washed over me. Her presence was terrifying and left me paralyzed. Then, as if sensing my fear, she took a slow, deliberate step toward me, her gown rustling softly against the wooden floor. The distance between us closed, and I could feel an icy chill radiating from her form. Her outstretched hand, pale and spectral, reached toward me, fingers trembling as they brushed against my skin. A shockwave of terror coursed through my entire being at her touch. With a surge of adrenaline, I tore my gaze away from her and fled from the room, my heart pounding in my chest. The ghostly figure seemed to vanish into the shadows behind me as I rushed through the mill, desperate to put as much distance as possible between myself and the haunted presence. That night, as I gasped for breath in the cool night air outside, I couldn't shake the image of the spectral woman from my mind. Her haunting appearance had left an indelible mark on my psyche, a vivid reminder that there were forces beyond our comprehension lurking in the old mill, forces that defied explanation and challenged the boundaries of reality. I sought refuge with the villagers, who listened to my tale with a mixture of sympathy and trepidation. They spoke of the mill's dark history, of tragedies and untold secrets that had haunted the place for generations. They told me of the woman in white, a spirit said to be trapped within the mill's walls. With their guidance, I enlisted the help of a local paranormal investigator, a man who had spent years studying the unexplained. Together, we returned to the mill, armed with cameras, voice recorders, and a determination to uncover the truth. As we ventured deeper into the mill's decaying interior, the investigator's equipment came to life with a cacophony of strange readings. Voices whispered from the darkness, their words indecipherable, yet filled with an undeniable sense of longing. Shadows flitted across the walls, their movements too deliberate to be explained by natural phenomena. And then we saw her again, the woman in white, her ghostly figure standing at the top of a rickety staircase. She beckoned to us, her eyes pleading, and I felt a deep, overwhelming sadness wash over me. With the investigator's guidance, I mustered the courage to approach the spectral figure. As I drew closer, I could see the anguish etched into her features, the weight of centuries of suffering, and then, in a heart-wrenching moment, she spoke, not in words, but in emotions that flooded my mind. She was a lost soul, trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead, unable to find peace. She had been wronged in life, a victim of betrayal and injustice, and her spirit could not rest until her story was told. Her name was Eleanor Whitaker, a name long forgotten by the villagers, but etched in the annals of the village's dark past. In the 19th century, she had been a vibrant, vivacious young woman, known for her striking beauty and her love of the arts. Eleanor was a painter of considerable talent, her canvases capturing the essence of the village and its picturesque surroundings. As the story goes, Eleanor fell deeply in love with a man named Thomas Grayson, a charismatic and enigmatic figure who had recently arrived in the village. Their romance blossomed against the backdrop of the old mill, where they often met in secret to share stolen moments of passion and devotion. But as their love grew, so did the rumors and whispers among the villagers. It was said that Thomas had a shadowy past, that he was a man with secrets of his own. The villagers, ever vigilant in their scrutiny of outsiders, did not take kindly to the burgeoning relationship between Eleanor and Thomas. One fateful night, a mob of angry villagers descended upon the old mill, fueled by jealousy and suspicion. They accused Thomas of witchcraft and dark deeds, and in their blind rage, they set fire to the mill, intending to drive him out and put an end to his alleged sorcery. Eleanor, unaware of the mob's intentions, had been inside the mill, waiting for Thomas. When the flames erupted around her, she was trapped, her desperate cries for help drowned out by the roar of the fire and the chants of the villagers. Thomas managed to escape the mill, his fate uncertain in the aftermath of the chaos. Eleanor, however, perished in the inferno, her life cut tragically short as the mill became a blazing funeral pyre. It was said that in her final moments, Eleanor's spirit had been consumed by a rage and anguish so intense that it imprinted itself upon the very walls of the mill. Her tragic death left her unable to move on, forever bound to the place where her life had met its fiery end. As the investigator and I pieced together Eleanor's story, a profound sense of empathy washed over us. It was a tale of love torn asunder by fear and prejudice, of a woman condemned for loving a man whose past remained a mystery. The villagers, in their haste to rid themselves of a perceived threat, had unwittingly condemned Eleanor to a fate far worse than death. With a sense of closure, I left the old mill behind, its haunted past now a part of history. The whispers, the footsteps, the chilling apparitions, all were gone, as though the woman in white had finally found the pieces she so desperately sought. I am no longer a skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, for I have witnessed the unexplainable with my own eyes. The old mill will forever hold a place in my heart.